The Gayim? Right.
We're in Vav Aleph.
I'm sorry, what did you say, Shul? I'm sorry?
We're in Parah Vav Aleph.
Well, here we go. Okay, well, here we go. If he took ashes, sorry, regarding someone who was consecrating Mekatis with the consecration, ashes fell on his hand or on the side of the trough and afterwards fell into the trough, the consecration is invalid. If they fell from the tube into the trough, the consecration is invalid. If he took ashes from the tube and he then covered the tube and closed the door, the consecration ashes are valid, but the water have invalid. If he stood the tube up on the ground, the ashes are invalid, but if he held the tube in his hand, the ashes are valid because it's possible to guard them. If the consecration ashes were floating on top of the water, Meir and Shimon say he may take the ashes and consecrate Mekatis with them. But if the comment say any ashes that touch the water, one may not consecrate with Mekatis with them. If he sprinkled the consecrated water and found consecrated ashes at the bottom, the Meir and Reb Shimon say he may dry them, consecrate them, Mekatis with them. But if the comment say any ashes that have touched the water, one may not consecrate Mekatis with them. Regarding one who's consecrating Mekatis in the trough, and there is a tefi bottle in the trough, even though the mouth of the tefi bottle is extremely narrow, the water within it is consecrated. If there was a sponge in the trough, the water within the sponge is invalid. What should he do? He should pour out the water in the trough until he reaches the sponge. If he touches the sponge, even though the water is floating above it in any amount, the water is invalid.
Okay.
If one,
this is me now. Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Now, Nasa, what's the situation over here? Is a guy's coming to fill up water from a little mountain stream, and it's trickling down from the rock, and it's not easy to get his kli under the stream. So he thinks, okay, let me find some way of directing the water into my bowl. Nasan Yado, he put his hand under the stream, or Raglo, he put his foot under it, or Ale Yirakos, or he put some vegetables, he put a lettuce leaf or something underneath it to direct the water into the bowl. Kadeshi Avru Hamaim Lechavis. Psulim. That's no good. Why? Because it's passing through something that is makabel tuma. Even if it's tahor, even if the lettuce leaf is tahor itself, or if his hand is tahor, it doesn't matter. The fact that it's being directed over something that is makabel tuma turns it into mayim she'uvim. It's now drawn water. It's no longer mayim chayim. Okay. Ale kanim v'ale egos. However, if it's just leaves of reeds or leaves of nuts which are inedible, therefore they're not susceptible to tumah, that is legit ksherim. You can use that to direct the water, because that's not being that it's not that it's not makabel tuma. It doesn't take on the din of mayim she'uvim. So that's your rule, is that if the thing is makabel tuma, it turns it into mayim she'uvim and it's no longer valid. But if he's passing it through something that is not makabel tuma, that's still called mayim chayim. Good. Okay, so he digs a little channel so that the stream follows the channel, and it goes into a pit. So makes it fill up a pit. Okay. Or letocha gave him, or some other kind of hole in the ground. Psulim lezavim, and then he blocks it up. Basically, he doesn't. It's not that the stream doesn't carry on. He doesn't let it flow. He says it's enough that it's filled up. So what has he done now? He's created a beautiful mikveh. Okay, it's a perfect mikveh, and it's kosher. You can tovel your dishes in it, and a niddah can use this to become tahor, but it's not mayim chayim anymore. It's no longer flowing. So once it's no longer flowing, that's great. Psulim lezavim, you can't use it for a zav because a zav needs mayim chayim. A metzora needs mayim chayim. Ulekadesh bahem meichatas, and the water for the meichatas needs to be mayim chayim. So you can't use this water for as mayim chayim. It's now just mikveh water. Okay, so you say, but hold on, it's like it's filled up. Why don't you use the pit itself as and be mekadesh the water inside there? Because you filled up it's mayim chayim that came in and filled up the pit. So now be mekadesh over there. And the answer is because it's not a kli. When it's in the ground, it's a pit in the ground. It's got mayim chayim has to be inside a kli. Okay. All right. Perek Zion. Hamisha Shemilu. Okay, so now what we're looking at over here in this Mishnah is we're going to be looking at interruptions, melacha, in between filling and being mekadesh the water. Okay, and it all depends on intention and what came in between. So now you've got 5 guys who come to the river, and each one fills up his own kli. Okay, with mayim chaim. Okay, Chamisha kiddushin. And they all looked at each other and said, "Hey, are we all here to make mechatas?" And everyone says, "Yeah." So why don't we all just put it into one kli, and we'll do the kiddush in one place, and then we'll divide it up again between us. And they all look and say, "Yeah, that sounds like a good idea." And they say, and that is going to be completely legitimate because each person is is holding his own water, and he is not getting involved in anything else between drawing his water and sanctifying it. Even if they all put it into one kli, there's no interruption. The same works in the other direction. If all 5 guys said okay, let's go and draw some water and we'll all put it all together. So they each draw their own kli, and then everyone says, "Listen, I don't know. So why are we putting it all in one bowl just so we can take that apart again? Let's just do 5 things." And say, "Okay, fine." And again, that's 100% okay because there's no interruption. Each person has drawn his own kli, and they're sanctifying it in their own kli, and there's no interruption. Everything is fine. Everything is fine. However, Yachid Shimile Chamesh Chavios. One guy came and he took five kalim, okay, and he took one and it filled that one, filled the next one, filled the next one 5 times. And he decided, you know what, I want to do them all at once. Well, you don't even have to say he wanted to do them all at once. As soon as he drew the first one, intending to do 5 separate kiddushin, then as soon as he picks up the second kli to fill it up, the first one becomes puzzle because he's gotten involved in something else. Instead of being mekadesh the first kli, he went and filled up the second one. So now the first kli is puzzle, and so it goes on until the 5th one. Okay, ein kasher ele achron. Only the 5th one is okay because there hasn't been any interruption on the 5th one. However, the kachan kiddush echad, if he said, "Look, I want to make a big kiddush in this thing, but I want to make a lot of water, but I need 5 kalim at a time." So he takes 5 kalim, intending to put them all inside one big kli to be mekadesh them. That is going to be okay. Okay, he could do that because there's no interruption in his kavana. He's intending all of this to be one kiddush. So every kli fills up is part of the same act. No interruptions. However, now he changes his mind and says, why am I going to put them all into one bowl? Let me just sprinkle into each one of them. Okay? Ein kasher ela zeh shekidesh rishon. The only kosher one is the one that he sprinkles the ashes in first. Because as soon as he sprinkles the ashes in the one, it's an interruption in all the other 4. So all the other 4 become pasul. Okay. Amar la echad. Now, let's have 2 people in the story. The guy fills up his 5 kalim, and he says to the other guy, "Listen, take this water, kadesh lach es elu, and it's for you. You take them. I don't have time to deal with this water now. You can take it and be mekadesh them." Ein kasher el rishon. Only the first one that he takes is going to be good because again he's taken possession of them. So he's just stepped into the shoes of the first guy. So as soon as he puts ashes in one, all the rest have become pasul through malacha. Kadesh li es elu. However, if the guy says, "I've got 5 kalim over here that I filled up, and I was intending to put them all together, but you know what? I don't want to put them all together. Can you please do the kiddush?" So the other guy says, "Okay, I'll do you a favor." He's got the ashes. He comes and he sprinkles each one of them. Now, in this case, the ownership stays with the first guy. And the first guy filled them all up legitimately because when he originally filled them up, he had intention he was going to put them all together. So that was legitimate. And then he changed his mind and said, "You know what, I want to sanctify them separately, but I can't do this because as soon as I do it, I'm going to make it puzzle. But if my friend does it, I can keep and it stays in my ownership. Then my friend can come and sprinkle each one of them. I haven't gotten involved in malacha, and therefore all 5 are going to be kosher. So somebody, you can't puzzle somebody else's water by malacha. You can only be puzzle yourself. So if the owner stays out of any activity and lets somebody else do the kiddush on the water, then everything is fine. Did you follow all that?
Yes, I got that.
Okay, excellent. Then let's go back to Gimel Dalet.
Back to Gimel. There we go. Gimel Dalet. They would not prepare a katos by means of a different katos, nor a child by means of his friend. If the children needed to be sprinkled, they are the words of Rabbi Yossi Aguli. Rabbi Akiva said they did not need to be sprinkled. If they did not find paraduma ashes from 7 paraduma, they would prepare katos from the ashes of 5, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, or 1. And who made them? The first was made by Moshe, the second was made by Ezra, the third were made from the times of Ezra on, and these are the words of Reb Meir. They would make a ramp extending from the Temple Mount to the, I'm sorry, I think I skipped a page here.
Yeah.
Yes. But the sages say 7 from the times of Ezra on, and who made them? Shimon HaTzadik and Yochanan, Gaon HaGadol, they 2 each. Eliah, Ene ben Hakov, Kamanil the Egyptian, and Yishmael ben Pani made each one. They would make a ramp extending from the Temple Mount to the Mount of Oil, consisting of arches upon top of arches, with an arch over the support below and a count of a grave of a deep. And for on this ramp, the Kohen would burn the Parah and an entourage would leave the Temple Mount and go to the Mount of Oil. Okay, that's it?
Yeah.
That's it, right? Okay. Now we're going to go to
Vav Gimel.
Okay. Base Gimel. A cow born by cesarean section and a harlot's hire in exchange for a dog, it's invalid.
Hold. We're in the Gayim, Vav Gimel.
Oh, I was still in Parah. Okay, in base Gimel. Okay. Thought we'd do that.
Don't know why you're there. Yeah.
Okay. The Gayim. There we go. The Gayim, base Gimel.
Vav Gimel.
Vav Gimel, rather. Sorry. Okay. Bahar is the size of a gris that contains a mikveh less than a lentil. If the bahar is expanded, it becomes tameh. If it receded, it becomes tahor. If the mikveh expanded, the bahar becomes tameh. And if the mikveh receded, the Rebbeinu renders it tameh, and the sages render it tahor because the nega does not expand inwards. A baharis larger than a gris contain more than a lentil living skin, and if they grew or receded, the baharis is tameh as long as they do not recede below the minimum size. A baharis the size of a gris is surrounded by living skin, the width of a lentil, and another baharis is outside the living skin. The inner one is confined and the outer one is confirmed. Rabbi Yossi says the mikveh is not a symptom of tumah for an outer nega since the baharis is inside it. If the mikveh receded or disappeared, Rabbi Gimel says it is diminished on the inner side. It is a sign of expansion for the inner nega, and the outer nega becomes tahor. But if it diminished from the outer side, the outer nega becomes tahor, and the inner nega can be confined. And Rakiva says either case is tahor.
Okay. Caleb, good Tesvav.
Expand on it. Caleb. There we go. Yud Tesvav. If a bed was wounded with a mizran, and a corpse touches them, they're tummy with 7-day tumah. If they separate from each other, they are tummy with 7-day tumah. If a sheret touches them, they are tummy with evening tumah. If they are separate from each other, they are tummy with evening tumah. Regarding a bed whose 2 long boards were removed and one fashioned new boards for it, and they did not alter the notches, if the new boards broke, the bed remains tummy. But if the old boards broke, the bed is tahor. For everything depends on the old boards. A chest whose opening is on top can become tummy with corpse tumah, and if it became damaged at its top, it became tummy with corpse tumah. If it became damaged at its bottom, it is tahor. If its compartment are tummy and are not considered connected to it. Regarding a shepherd's pouch that became damaged, the pocket within it is tummy and is not considered connected to it. Regarding a water skin whose side pouches hold liquid together with it, and those pouches became damaged, they are tahor, but because they do not accept liquids in their normal fashion.
Zavachim.
Okay. Above. If he did not remove the crop, or the feathers, or the entrails which are attached to it, or he did not saturate it with salt, any deviation which he makes after he drains the blood leaves is invalid. If he separated the bird katasa and did not separate the bird ola, he has invalidated it. If he drained the blood on the head but did not drain the blood on the body, it is invalid. But if he drained the blood on the body but not the blood on the head, it is valid. If one performed malika on a bird katos for a designation other than its own, or drained its blood, or a designation other than its own, or for its designation of and for designation other than its own, or for designation other than its own, and for its own designation, it's invalid. A bird ola under each circumstance is valid, except that which is not credited to the owner. Both a bird katos and a bird ola on which one perform malika or drain their blood with the intent to eat that which is meant to be eaten, or to burn upon the altar that which is meant to be burnt upon the altar, outside the area, they are invalid. But there are no karas punishment beyond their time, and they are pigul and one is liable to karas for them, provided that the part which makes it permissible has been offered as required. In what manner is the part which makes it permissible considered to have been offered as required? If he performed malika in silence but drained the blood with an intent for beyond its time, or he performed malika with an intent for beyond its time and drained the blood in silence, or he performed malika and drained the blood both with an intent for beyond the time, and these are the cases in which the part which makes it permissible is considered to have been offered as required. In what manner is the part which makes it permissible not considered to have been offered as required? If he performed malika for outside its place but drained the blood for beyond its time, or performed malika for beyond its time but drained its blood for outside its place, or he performed malika and drained the blood both for outside its place, or bird katos on which he performed malika for a designation other than its own, and drained his blood with an intent for beyond its time, or on which he performed malika, which an intent for beyond its time, and drained his blood for a designation other than its own, or he performed malika on it and drained his blood for a designation other than its own. These are the cases in which the part which makes it permissible has not been offered as required. If he intended to eat an olive volume outside and an olive vial tomorrow, or an olive volume tomorrow and an olive volume outside, or he intended to eat half a volume of olive outside and half an olive volume tomorrow, or half a olive volume tomorrow and half an olive outside, it's invalid. But it bears no karas punishment, and said Rabbi Yehuda, this is the rule. If the intent time preceded the intent place, it is pigul, and one is liable to karas for it. But if the intent of place preceded the intent of time, it is invalid, but bears no karas punishment, karas. But the sages say, in either case it's invalid, but bears no karas. If the intent was to eat half an olive volume and to burn upon the altar half of olive volume, it's invalid, because intent for eating and altar burning. Right. The altar half of olive volume is valid because intent or eating altar burning do not combine. Okay. And sorry,
Aleph as well.
a bird katos which one made below in the manner of katos offering for the designation of katos is valid. If he made it in the manner of katos offering for the designation of ola, or the same manner of an ola offering for the designation of katos, or the manner of an ola offering for the designation of ola, it's invalid. And if he makes it above any of these manners, it's invalid. Okay.
Okay.
And we are on to ketubas.
Yeah.
Okay. Ket. He shall not say to her, the ketubah is lying on the table. Rather, all his property is surety for the ketubah. Likewise, the man shall not say to his wife, your ketubah is lying on the table. Rather, all of his property is surety for her ketubah. If he divorced her, she is entitled only to a ketubah. If he married her, she is like all other women. She is entitled only to a ketubah. If one writes to his wife, I have neither right nor claim to your property, he may nevertheless enjoy the ushrut during her lifetime. If she dies, he inherits her. If so, why did he write to her, I have neither right nor claim to your property? That if she sold it or gave it away, the act is valid. If he wrote to her, I have neither right nor claim to your property or its produce to the ifruk of your produce during your lifetime and after your death, he does not enjoy the ifruk during her lifetime. And if he dies, he does not inherit her. Rabbi Shimon says if he dies, he inherits her, because he stipulated on what is written in the Torah, and whoever stipulates on what is written in the Torah, his stipulation is void. If someone died and left a wife, a creditor, and heirs, and he has a deposit or loan in the possession of others, Reb Tarfon said, shall be given to the weakest among them. Reb Akiva says no clemency is shown in the judgment. Rather, it shall be given to the heirs, for they all require an oath, whereas the heirs do not require an oath.
Okay.
And Truma. If one cleared out Truma wheat from a storeroom, he is not enjoined to sit down and collect one by one, but he sweeps in his usual manner and puts chulin into it. If so too, if a jar of oil was upset, he is not enjoined to sit down and to scoop it up, but deals with it as if it would be with chulin. If one pours from one jar to another and allows 3 drops to drip, he may put into chulin. If he inclined it and drained it, it is truma. And how much truma must of the mime need there be to require him to take it to the priest? An eighth of an eighth.
No, carry on. We've got to finish the Masechta. We started one too early, and we've got 2 more to go.
Okay, sorry. Vetches of truma may be fed to a cattle, the dominant animals and fowls. If a non-priest hired a cow from a priest, he may feed it with vetches of truma. But if a priest hired a cow from a non-priest, though he is responsible for its food, he may not feed it with truma vetches. A non-priest who received an appraised cow from a priest may not feed it with truma vetches, but a priest who received an appraised cow from a non-priest may feed it with vetches of truma. And one may kindle shemen sarefa in the synagogue, houses of study, and dark alleys, and for the sick, with permission of a priest. If the daughter of a non-priest who married a priest frequents a father's house, the father may kindle with her permission. One may kindle in a house where there is a feast, but not in a house of mourning. So Reb Yehuda, so says Reb Yehuda, but Reb Yossi says in a house of mourning, but not in a house where there is a feast. The mayor forbids it in either place, and Reb Shimon permits it in either place.
Okay, Hadron Allah, Maseches Trumot, and tomorrow is Masros.
I'm sorry, Masros?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Great. Have a great day.
Tomorrow.
Thank you. Be well. Bye.
Bye.